Welcome back. Well, the 20th anniversary of 9/11 quickly approaching this weekend. And we will never, ever forget the bravery. Not only of the Americans we lost that day, the first responders, the heroes that rushed in that we lost. And let us not forget all the folks who survived and are dealing with that horror. That includes every single American, over 322 million of us. We need to always honor everyone on that day and live up to the phrase that we see on memorials and bumper stickers and t-shirts. Never forget. However, in this day and age, in this woke society, many on the left, it seems, trying to eliminate the severity of the terror attack that was committed by terrorists and the group Al-Qaeda. We told you just earlier this week, there's some on the left now in the state of Virginia who say it's not okay to use the word terrorists anymore or extremists when we describe who attacked us and what they did. Wow. Well, on this program, we like to keep it real. So I will always call them out for what they are. The trauma left behind from 9/11 still, of course, remains, I hope, in every American's mind. Psychiatrist, also known as the terrorist therapist, Dr. Carole Lieberman, claims it is important that we all understand the impact the attacks had on this entire nation. Dr. Lieberman is the author of 2 award-winning books, Coping with Terrorism, Dreams Interrupted, and also Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, Oh My, How to Protect Your Children from Terrorism. We want to welcome the doc on the show to discuss not only her books, but as we approach this anniversary, what we should all be doing, what we should all be remembering. Dr. Lieberman, thanks so much for coming on the program. How are you today?
Well, I agree with all of the things that you just said. The Virginia situation, for example, and it's probably spreading as we speak to other schools as well, and that's terrible because we are more in danger today. I mean, that's what Americans don't want to realize and don't realize. We are more in danger today of terror attacks, especially now with Afghanistan, than ever before. And I have been on a one-woman campaign since 9/11 to wake people up to this, to help people to explain to them why they have to become more resilient for the future attacks, to help them cope with the memories of 9/11. Because every year, as I know you know, the commemoration of 9/11 has been getting less and less. People want to forget it. And it's kind of normal psychologically that we want to forget, push into our unconscious painful memories. But with 9/11, we have to make a major exception because not only remembering the people who died and the people who sacrificed, we have to teach it. We have to teach children about terrorism so that they're not surprised about what happens in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Doc. It just drives me crazy when I see folks, and I know I'm not trying to get political with you. You're a doctor, you're a psychologist, you're an author. You're not a political commentator or running for office, but there has to be a point where we do discuss it. There is a certain side of the aisle, and not all, but a certain side of the aisle these days that is pushing to, because of course they go back to it's racist, it's Islamophobic, blah, blah, blah. No, stating the facts that a terror group, which, yes, took their Quran and their religious belief to a whole new extreme level, attacked this nation 20 years ago this Saturday and killed thousands of Americans. That's a fact. Let's stop trying to water it down.
Yes, and they are going to be continuing. I am having a mobile, I created a video that explains why we should never forget, including those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, like Afghanistan, right. And symptoms that people might have for which they should get help and so on. And it is going to be running on a mobile billboard, a truck, around Ground Zero tomorrow and on 9/11.
Good for
because
you.
that is how passionate, obviously, I am about teaching people about 9/11, warning them about what's coming. And for the point of helping all of us to get more resilient, our children, ourselves, adults, we have to be ready for this. We're not expecting this. And there are so many reasons besides the fact that Afghanistan, the Taliban and ISIS and Al-Qaeda now have all kinds of equipment. We have the recognize that that America isn't prepared. We've stopped. We've put down our guard. There are all these kinds of reasons, and they are going to be coming. In fact, they are here. Actually, to be honest, they're already
Most
here.
likely. They were last time. I mean, you go back and look at 9/11, some of the thugs and some of the pilots had been here 2.5 years, training and leading normal lives until they were activated to commit that heinous crime that day. I want to talk about the children, because one of your books is directed right at the kids. And this is what worries me when I see not just, this wasn't a school board, Doc, this was the Department of Education for an entire state, right? This was the state of Virginia wanting to dumb this down and whitewash it and make it all PC. What detriment are we going to do for future generations if we don't tell kids that are, I'm sorry, in middle school and elementary, this isn't a high school thing, if we don't teach them about the radical terrorists who attacked us, who still want the West dead and will do anything to see that happen, what could happen down the road if we're not teaching our children this?
We're going to be totally blindsided, and kids are going to be confused. Who are terrorists? In my book for kids, the first half is for grown-ups, to talk to kids and so on, and the second half is a picture book for kids. And I talk about the things head on, but in gentle ways. It's terrorism light. And so one part is, what is a terrorist? And I show a picture of a bully on a playground, and it explains terrorists are like bullies on the playground. They want you to follow their rules and their laws and so on. And similarly, why do terrorists have explosions? And you can talk about that like an explosion is like a temper tantrum. That's when they're having a temper tantrum, they set off explosions. And when you have a temper tantrum, you don't get what you want. Well, they're not going to get what they want either. There are ways, in other words, of putting it in children's language to not scare them, but to convey real truths.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up the point that we're not doing as much as we used to. Used to be live televised. They would read every single name that was lost in that tower. Then they would go to a memorial out in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and read everyone's name aboard that one. Then there was someone in front of the Pentagon, and they would read every name there, and every network covered it, and there was memorials across this country. Sorry if I start breaking down. This just pisses me off. That we told them we wouldn't forget, and we're forgetting.
Yes, and they're using COVID as an excuse last year and this year to allow fewer people to read the names.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. That's just asinine. We were there. My fiance and I actually stopped by the Ground Zero, the memorials that we're showing pictures of right now, a week or so ago when we were in New York to interview President Trump. First time I had been there since they'd been completed. I'd been in New York several times, had been in 2000. Summer of 2000, before the towers came down, back in, I think, 07, 08, while they were constructing it. And that was the first time, and I can tell you, folks, if you haven't been there, and I know, Doc, you have, go to New York and go pay your respects. Just going there on that hallowed ground and then seeing the water flowing and reading those names, just feeling them, I'll tell you, you won't forget. That's for sure.
It takes your breath away, and that's the one problem, for kids, that you can't feel it in your soul and in your heart and all over your body, as we all did for 9/11. But you can certainly see pictures about it, movies about it. You can be, the more you're taught about it, and the more you come to these places, the hallowed ground and so on, the more you do get a picture, even if it's not 100% with the, feeling it in your heart, you can get a better understanding of it. And that's what I'm trying to do to help you.
Good for you. Thank you, Doc. We're out of time, but I got to get two things out real fast. In your medical professional opinion, because I've gone round and round with folks about this, should we be censoring the images of 9/11 or showing them exactly how it happened? Because I remember for weeks, months, we showed them again and again, and now over the past 20 years, we started censoring the people falling out of the building, the firefighters rushing in, and the building collapsing, not showing Americans and the younger generations what happened. Should we be censoring or not, in your professional opinion?
Well, it's funny you should ask that.
Yes.
Because the first truck that my video was supposed to be going on, the music video about 9/11, when they saw there were pictures of the planes hitting the building, they didn't want to do it at the last minute. Now I have another truck company doing it. But no, we have to see those images. I mean, if we don't, yes, of course it's painful, but we have to remember. That's what's going to make us remember, especially the kids. They absolutely have to see these images to feel something.
Yes. Put the books back up, guys, before we say goodbye. Carole, if they want to find your books, where do we get them?
We can go to Amazon or my website, terroristtherapist.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carole Lieberman, for coming on the program. I know this weekend will be rough for you, as it will be for millions and millions of Americans. God bless you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Yep.